Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We will be talking about one of my favorite topics, all things women's health, on this incredible panel sponsored by Lisa. So we're gonna dive into hormones, skin, gut health, sleep, your autoimmune system, and how all of these things are interconnected, and how it's really important that we focus on them as we age and how they work together, and optimizing them is so critically important. I'll start and then we'll go down the panel. So I am Dr. Michelle Henry. I'm a dermatologist here in Manhattan, we're now in Queens. I do all things dermatology, hair loss, skin cancer surgery, fillers, lasers, liposuction, hair transplant. So I am thrilled to be here to do a deep dive. And fun fact about me, I am just getting into gardening, but I do not have the greenest of thumbs. So if we have any budding Martha Stewarts here, I'm open to any suggestions. I'll pass it on to Dr. Shelby.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shelby Harris. Welcome, everyone. I am a clinical psychologist here in New York City. I specialize in behavioral sleep medicine. So if you know Montefiore Medical Center, I ran their insomnia clinic at their sleep lab for well over a decade before going into private practice. So I work with women, I work for babies to older adults, all different ages, and all different sleep issues, so using evidence-based treatments. Fun fact about me, I was named after the Shelby Mustang from the late 60s.
Very cool.
Hi everyone, I am so happy to be here. I am Dr. Taz Bhatia. I go by Dr. Taz. I'm an integrative health and wellness expert, and I've spent the last 16, 17 years really practicing holistic and integrative medicine, a lot of what everybody's now calling functional medicine, and really puzzle piecing everyone's health back together. It's been such a joy, and it's a huge part of my mission to change the way medicine's being delivered and the way we think about medicine. I focus a lot on gut health and hormone health, and have written and talked a lot about it, talked on the show about it, so I'm just excited to be here. Fun fact. Fun fact, oh my gosh. Fun fact, I tried to be a country music singer in Nashville when I was a teenager. Oh, that's awesome. Is this working? Okay. That's awesome. My name is Dr. Natalie Azar. Many of you probably, my fans, no, I'm kidding. So obviously many of you know me from the Today Show. I am in fact an associate professor of rheumatology at NYU. That's where I did all my training after medical school, and I'm in private practice there for so many years and counting. Let's see, what am I supposed to talk about? Oh my goodness. Well, we're gonna talk a lot about it today, but obviously rheumatologists deal with everything autoimmune, as well as bone and joint health. And fun fact about me, I have a couple of them. One is that I consider my dog a real human child.
Yes.
And the second one is, and this is kind of funny, you know, for senior year in high school when you have to put something down as like either your dream or what you're gonna be. And I remember I said that I was going to be a psychiatrist. My dad was a psychiatrist, and I wanted to be the host of my own talk show.
Amazing, you manifested.
But journalism and media came very serendipitously, so it's not like I planned it.
Good, strong work. So we'll dive into sleep first, which I'm sure many of us can't get enough of it. I know I can't. And we know that sleep is so important any age or any stage of life, but life gets in the way. You're juggling life, kids, work, aging. What is important, or why is it so important to prioritize sleep? And what's your go-to advice for women that aren't getting enough sleep as we age, whether it's from insomnia or just waking up throughout the night?
Yeah, people often talk about sleep as being one of the pillars of health. And I would actually argue that it's really the bedrock that all the pillars are built upon, because sleep is so important for so many things in our bodies, whether it's cardiovascular health, whether it's weight management, mood, cognitive function, just our quality of life, so many things it's really important for. So when you think about like diet and exercise, you get more out of it if you're actually sleeping. So sleep is that thing that we really need to be trying to prioritize if you're working on other things in life. So things that I think about with women, so many things, but the first thing I always think about is like, just don't let anyone tell you that poor sleep is normal as we go through life, because it is not. And it is normal to have episodes of poor sleep, but we have very good treatments for it. So don't be told that you can suffer or you should suffer because that's normal. So what are things that I recommend? So first of all, I always say, like, people like to use alcohol for sleep, or they're using medication. We have non-medication approaches, CBT for insomnia, for example. There's really good things to try, whether it's avoiding alcohol, limiting the screen exposure that really, like, it's not even just the blue light, it's what are you looking at night that's keeping you up, because usually it's the binge watching. For me, it's the bear right now that's keeping you up, right? All that sort of stuff. And also just stress management. Stress impacts sleep so much. So if you think there's any sort of hormonal component, definitely talking with your gynecologist about that. Don't accept poor sleep. And the one other thing I would add is that snoring and sleep apnea is very common as women start to age, especially once they hit perimenopause. So if a lot of times it gets missed, people don't actually get asked about it, definitely bring it up if there's any sort of pauses in your breathing at night, because that could actually be the insomnia that's going on. You wake up because you're having sleep apnea. So definitely bring it up.
Absolutely brilliant. You answered almost all of my questions. But I have one more for you. What's one myth about sleep you wish women would let go of, especially when it comes to beauty sleep or aging?
So I think that there's the biggest myth is that there's really that there's a magic number of sleep, like you should be getting 8 hours and that's the perfect number. It really isn't. They get the 8 because it's between 7 to 9 hours, really. That's it. So 8 is just an easy thing to say. You should really be sleeping what feels the most restorative for you. For some people, that's 7 hours. Some people, that's 9. Find that magic number for you. And sleep is really important for beauty sleep because when you're sleeping, you go through different stages of sleep throughout the night. We have deep sleep, we have light sleep, we have REM sleep. They all have important parts to them. But during that deep stage of sleep that happens throughout the night, but the most in that first third of the night, that's when collagen production happens. And when you're getting better quality sleep, we actually find that it helps with, we've seen circles under your eyes. And there are people who might have poor sleep or apnea where it's actually impacting their skin quality, puffiness under the eyes. So sleep the amount that's good for you, and if the quality of it's not good, definitely bring that up with your doctor.
Excellent. I have actually a personal question.
Yeah.
What about catching up on sleep? So sometimes in the week I can only get, maybe 4 hours, but then I can sleep for 10 on the weekend. How dangerous is that?
Not dangerous. I think the thing with catching up with sleep is that a lot of people miss too much sleep in the middle of the week that you can't make up enough on the weekend. So it's fine to do it once in a while, but if you're constantly missing 2 hours every single night, good luck sleeping an extra 10 hours on the weekend.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
But it's totally fine.
Yes, I try. I fail often, but I try. So now we're going to dive a little bit into our autoimmune health, plus our joint and bone health as we age. We know that autoimmune diseases disproportionately affect women, often beginning in early adulthood. So Dr. Natalie, why is this the case? And what are the most common autoimmune diseases that you're seeing in your office?
So, we could very oversimplify and say that autoimmune diseases preferentially affect women because of hormones, and that is definitely true. So our exposure to estrogen throughout our lifetimes is definitely a risk factor. But there are also evolutionary explanations for this. So for example, during pregnancy, that there is a heightened inflammatory and immune response in pregnancy that was perhaps something that was going to benefit us in terms of survival, which I think is kind of just neat from an historic perspective or sociological perspective. And then there's also genetics. So I don't know if you guys were aware, and this, even a lot of this genetics is a little bit above my pay grade, but there was an enzyme or sort of a process that was discovered about a year ago, something called EXIST, which basically says that the reason that women are at a higher risk for autoimmune diseases is because of our X chromosome. So the next time that you're having an argument with a spouse or your brother or your son about which sex is superior, you can basically tell them that we can survive without a Y chromosome. We do it all the time. But having 2 X chromosomes is actually not a great thing. And one of our X chromosomes is kind of turned off or dampened as I'm not even sure when that happens, perhaps embryogenesis or after. And that process can actually trigger some inflammatory and immune responses that could actually increase the risk of autoimmunity. So in terms of the diseases that are most common, so the most common type of arthritis is osteoarthritis, which is not considered an autoimmune disease. But the kinds of autoimmune diseases that rheumatologists treat are definitely names that probably many of you have heard of: lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, myositis, scleroderma, Sjogren's syndrome. Those are sort of the classic rheumatologic diseases that we see in rheumatology.
Yes. We see some of that in dermatology as well. And something I see a lot and I experience a lot as I'm thinking about standing up here, I'm worried about my knees a little bit because they're starting to fail me. And I think a lot of us as we get older, we start to see those early signs of arthritis. What symptoms are commonly overlooked? How do you help your patients distinguish between normal aging and the early signs of autoimmune conditions like lupus or rheumatoid arthritis?
It's a great question. And I think at one point in our lives, all of us will experience joint pain for various different reasons. And one of the most common reasons that people end up going to a rheumatologist is chronic low back pain. And so how do we distinguish what's just benign sort of degenerative disc disease from a more serious underlying issue? I think one thing that we teach medical students and we teach residents, and you guys are all aware of, we start to think about considering an autoimmune disease when joint pain is also associated with some symptoms in other organ systems. So if you have joint pain, but you also have rashes, you have joint pain with profound fatigue, you have joint pain associated with GI symptoms, or shortness of breath or hair loss, then we start to invoke maybe there's an underlying autoimmune or systemic illness that's causing these symptoms, and maybe it's manifesting first as joint pain. As I mentioned, osteoarthritis, the most common type of arthritis, tends to happen as we get older. We use the terms osteoarthritis with degenerative wear and tear. So in the knees and the hips, and grandma had a knee replacement, that usually tells us that it's probably osteoarthritis. So the pattern of the arthritis, and this is all, by the way, in the history. So when you come to us and see us in the office, we let you talk. And you tell us about when the joint pain started, how long it's been going on, is it worse in the morning, is it worse at night, is this associated with warmth or swelling or prolonged morning stiffness, and then we start getting into all the other questions I asked, bowel symptoms, skin symptoms, and that's how we kind of generate for us what we call a differential diagnosis, what's the most likely, second, third, and down the line, and we do labs and imaging to help us get to a diagnosis.
So oftentimes when we're starting to feel sluggish, not our best selves, we're told to exercise. Get out there, exercise, it's good for you. But when it comes to these autoimmune conditions, is it good for you? Is it going to make you hurt more if you're having a flare? Should you lay off of the exercise a bit?
So if I can leave our audience with two pearls from today, or two conditions where exercise has to be recommended more cautiously. First, let me tell you that almost across the board, we will recommend exercise for our patients. Even in the setting of inflammatory arthritis like rheumatoid, even in the setting of having knee osteoarthritis, there's always something that patients can do, and they can avoid the area that hurts. We rely on physical therapists, obviously, a great deal. There are two conditions where exercise can actually make people worse. One is, or needs to be nuanced in terms of how it's done. And one is in hypermobility syndromes. Maybe people have heard of something called Ehlers-Danlos. These are collagen disorders where your collagen is a little bit weaker. You're born like this, and instead of your collagen making these nice, tight crosslinks that support all of your joints and muscles and everything, you're very loose and you're very lax. And sometimes, and these individuals can really experience a lot of soft tissue injury if they're not careful about how they exercise, and physical therapists do wonders with them. The other condition is something called chronic fatigue syndrome. The proper name for chronic fatigue syndrome is a mouthful, so get ready. It's ME/CFS, which stands for myalgic encephalomyelitis chronic fatigue syndrome. About half of patients with long COVID meet criteria for this. This is a situation where significant physical or mental overexertion can actually make people worse, and they experience a crash a few hours or a day after overexertion. So those are the two little exceptions where we have to give exercise recommendations with a little bit of nuance, but otherwise, I tell everyone, as a blanket, do whatever you enjoy, mix it up, keep it interesting. All data points, especially to knee arthritis, that physical therapy and weight loss and exercise works better than any pill.
Can I add on one thing?
Absolutely.
So exercise is fantastic, but if you're thinking about incorporating it, to limit it within 3 hours of bed. So vigorous exercise. You can do like stretching, walks, things like that, but you don't want to raise your body temperature up too much because that can actually impact being able to fall asleep. So build in that exercise, just try to think about the timing of it a little bit.
Fantastic tip. So osteoarthritis, that knee pain often, is very loud. What about something that's a little bit quieter, osteoporosis? So this is a silent disease. What age should women start thinking about bone density? And how can they proactively protect their bones before a fracture?
Your parents should be thinking about bone density from the minute you're born. So something that I think the media, the press sometimes gets wrong in terms of communicating that calcium and vitamin D doesn't prevent fractures, and the communication on this gets so confusing that patients actually think, maybe I don't need calcium and vitamin D. Wrong. We need calcium and vitamin D throughout our lifetimes. And for those of you who have kids now or are planning on having children, they need calcium throughout childhood. Adolescence and puberty is the most important time for children, especially to make sure that they're getting adequate calcium. It doesn't need to be dairy, but they need to get it. It's the period of most rapid bone growth. We reach our peak bone mass around, or like about 95% of our bone mass, we reach it around age 20. 100% of our bone mass is reached at age 30. And then for women and men, but for women, we have a very slow decline until menopause, and then we fall off a cliff. Bone density recommendations are really late. It's age 65 for a woman at average risk. You're supposed to get your bone density for the first time at age 65. For men, it's age 70. However, if you have risk factors for osteoporosis, whether it's vitamin D deficiency, autoimmune diseases, chronic steroid use, and there's a pretty lengthy list, your doctor absolutely can do a bone density before the age of 65 to screen for osteoporosis.
I'm going to jump in real quickly because I don't like that age 65. Yeah. We're doing some screening in our clinics, and we're finding osteopenia in our young high school girls, especially with the focus on athletics and all this other stuff without the nutrition to support that athleticism. We're seeing bone loss in like 19-year-olds, 21-year-olds, and so we're trying to educate them that let's not wait till 60 to screen. That's too late.
Especially whether it's eating disorders or celiac, which can affect women throughout their lifetimes. But that's why it's important to have a conversation with your doctor about if screening is right for you. And remember, these recommendations largely come from something called the United States Preventive Services Task Force, which is great, and they do need to exist, but their whole point is more like at a population level. What is the risk benefit of doing a screening test in the general population? Are we going to capture enough people that it makes the screening test worth it? And that's their purpose. But the problem is that a lot of medical coverage from insurance companies goes by what the task force says. So we're kind of stuck a little bit, but like I said, I've never had a problem getting a bone density approved under the age of 65 when it's to look for, for osteoporosis for obvious reasons.
Excellent. And as you just mentioned, a lot of this is wrapped into hormones and also our gut health. And so, gut health has become an active conversation even in the dermatology world. So let's dive into that a little bit with Dr. Taz. So first, midlife is a roller coaster. Lots of things are happening. What are some changes that might signal that something deeper is happening? So maybe menopause or hormonal changes.
Definitely. Well, midlife is a roller coaster for both men and women, I would say. And I think the first thing that most people notice, what catches their attention, is usually a change in body composition. And that is typically what makes somebody book an appointment, right? And they're complaining about maybe some new belly fat. They're doing the same workouts. They're doing absolutely everything they used to do before, but nothing's changing, and there's this change in body composition that they can't explain. A lot of that is rooted in what Chinese medicine, older systems of medicine have been talking about for centuries, this connection between your gut health and what your hormones are actually doing. So, you know, the two talk to each other. It's bidirectional. They communicate. I think conventionally we were all trained to think of like a hormone in a single vessel and gut health in a single vessel, whereas in reality, all of them are communicating and talking to each other. So as we hit midlife or perimenopause, if we're talking about, you know, women, or andropause if we're talking about men, there's a shift in the microbiome. And that shift in microbiome is being caused by multiple factors. It's caused by the drop in hormone levels. So the first hormone to go for most women, and this is shifting earlier, which I think is concerning, but the first hormone to drop is usually progesterone, and then behind it, as you get further into perimenopause and then into menopause, of course, is estrogen. For men, they're seeing that shift in testosterone. You guys have seen the headlines talking about how men now, younger and younger, are having that drop in testosterone, and then across the board, even with our children, we're seeing higher and higher levels of cortisol. That hormone soup is changing the microbiome to where you can't, you know, metabolize things the same way you once did. It's resulting in higher blood sugar levels, higher insulin levels. That's the visceral fat and the belly fat and the change in body composition. Now we can switch it the other way too, which is why this conversation gets a little bit complicated, where if the gut's not working well, and the gut, remember, is ground zero for your health, meaning you're not digesting well, you're not absorbing your nutrients really well, you might be fat spilling or losing things because of sort of a lack of a, you know, a good gut lining, then that in turn triggers these hormone changes faster. So you have this like two-lane highway basically that's communicating with each other, and they're so important for one another. You know, a lot of times people talk about not just weight gain, but like, why are their hormones off, or why can't we clear environmental estrogens, or why can't we clear the estrogen that we ourselves are making, right? Why is there more PCOS or endometriosis or all these different conditions? And they're actually bacteria, we know in science now, in research, showing that certain bacteria are responsible for clearing estrogen out of your system, for helping with testosterone metabolism, for helping with many of these things. So, you know, when we're managing a lot of these things around sleep or around autoimmune disease, there's this opportunity, you know, before you get a diagnosis, before like things really hit a wall, there's this huge opportunity to really dial into, you know, where is your gut health? You know, what are your hormones doing? You know, and I would say same thing. I think it needs to start with our kids, because I think the foundation for a lot of what we're seeing later on in adulthood and midlife actually starts with our children, our adolescents, and then we just see it kind of compound upon itself over and over again. So gut health is the foundation. Older systems of medicine have talked about this for thousands of years. The research is now, you know, showing that, proving that, talking about the importance. And I would say when we say gut health in this sort of broad, big category, what we're actually talking about scientifically is, what is the microbiome doing? What is your digestion doing? Do you have intestinal malabsorption? You know, how are you able, you know, to go to the bathroom? What's your motility look like? And then do you have some of the symptoms of reflux and bloating and these things that patients often complain about? But sometimes they don't even have the symptoms, but they're starting to show inflammatory symptoms or rashes, right? Or sleep disorders, all these different things that you can dial all the way back down to the gut. So that's why many people, when they have a gut-focused plan, sleep does get better, hormones do stabilize a little bit, and that sort of, you know, waterfall of inflammation starts to dial down to a certain extent. Now, once you're in a full-fledged disease mode, you have a diagnosis of rheumatoid or osteo or any of these actual diagnoses, that whole thing is still important, but it takes longer and longer and longer to see results. So that's why I feel like the opportunity is there way earlier, way before these diagnoses actually show up.
Yeah, I would add too, is that you were saying that body composition changes you see is one of the early signs. Sleep disturbance is the other big thing. I see so many women in their late 30s coming into my practice. They've been great sleepers their whole lives, never had a problem, and then they start having insomnia, and it's often because they're starting to go through perimenopause, and we need to address it, and it's something that gets missed all the time.
Yeah. As you said, gut health is not just about food. It affects our mood, our sleep, our skin, our immunity. what are some things that we can do to control that? So in terms of our diet, are there special diets that can help? Plant-based, gluten-free, dairy-free, keto? Is it hype or is it hope? What is it?
Yes, the diet madness, right? Like, what is the right diet?
Yeah.
So I think, everyone has a story and everyone has an individual story, and, it takes some effort and time to figure that out. But if we're gonna talk about a general rule of thumb, what I think we all have consensus on is that an anti-inflammatory diet is really home-based, and we should be all at least starting there. That's your starting point. And when we talk about an anti-inflammatory diet, we're basically talking about getting in, majority plant-based foods, like at least 50–60% of your plate should be fruits and vegetables. So plant-based is whole food, real food, not grain-based food necessarily. And then getting in some good sources of protein, and then healthy fats are a very important part of that anti-inflammatory diet. I think where people get really tripped up is, when they're trying to prioritize how they tackle a diet, I would actually encourage them, the more we're understanding the role of environmental toxins, glyphosate, some of these type of things when it comes to gut health, and when it comes to hormone health, and when it comes to our children's health too, I would say the first priority is actually your food sourcing and food quality, right? Before you start getting all confused about what has gluten and what has dairy and all that other stuff. I feel like that's now becoming more important than ever before. And then I think the second is removing, processed foods, packaged foods, high sugar foods. That's probably step two. And then step three is trying to get your head wrapped around this anti-inflammatory way of eating and making it a lifestyle. And whether you're traveling or you're in carpool or, whatever you're doing, you're still consciously making those choices as you move throughout the day. That makes a huge difference. We know that the toxins, the glyphosate, gluten, the way it's processed currently, dairy, and it's a lot about the processing. Dairy, the way it's processed in certain places, excessive meat,
Yes.
all of these things in excess, right? And with poor quality are leading to a lot of different issues with the gut, and then shifting the microbiome, and then triggering inflammation. So I just had a patient yesterday who was like, why am I better every time I go to Europe? I eat whatever I want, I do whatever I want, but I'm 100% better every time I go to Europe. And I would dial her all the way back to this idea of what we're getting exposed to and how it's impacting the gut.
Exactly.
I have to say that I hear that all the time from my patients too. And just to put a check mark next to that, I advise an anti-inflammatory diet for all of my patients, from fibromyalgia to overweight with knee osteoarthritis and autoimmune disease. Some people still don't know exactly what that means when I say a Mediterranean diet, and I'm like, oh, wow, okay, but it's whole food, plant-based, nothing processed, and that's a good starting point.
Amazing. So one more question, then we're going to jump into some rapid fire questions. So in dermatology, we talk a lot about GLP-1s because they are anti-inflammatory. And so in many ways can help a lot of skin conditions. What is your take on GLP-1s? Is it okay for quick weight loss? A lot of people are talking about microdosing it. What's the deal? What are the pros? What are the cons?
Okay, you've put me in the hot seat. So, all right, GLP-1s. Like everything, there's a time and place for everything, all right? If someone is having a lot of issues like BMIs, basal metabolic index, which I know is not the best number, but maybe let's say they've really struggled with weight and obesity, and they have done all the things and they're not seeing an effort. A standard dosing of a GLP-1, I think, is okay. Here's where we struggle a little bit. So GLP-1s do indeed, cut food noise. They do help bring inflammation down. They balance out blood sugar, which is honestly one of the primary reasons why people are on this roller coaster of craving certain foods or wanting certain foods, because they're riding the highs and lows of blood sugar. So GLP-1s do help to calm that down, and we've seen some incredible things in practice. Now, the standard dosing of a GLP-1 is appropriate for the patient who is obese, who is diabetic, who is in a really tough spot when it comes to weight loss. But that's not always the majority, at least, of the people that I see. I don't know about you guys. A lot of the people I see are, in that sort of midlife shift, or have PCOS or endometriosis or these different conditions of insulin resistance, but they're not necessarily obese. They've changed for some reason over time. What we are finding is that when they have done the work of an anti-inflammatory diet, proper movement, proper sleep, because sleep really does impact blood sugar and insulin regulation, and they're still stuck, I actually do like microdosing. the GLP-1s. And the reason I like microdosing, and I actually prefer the tirzepatide over the semaglutide, because the goal is not blocking food noise when I'm prescribing it. The goal is more, can we get better blood sugar stability and better liver health metabolism of glucose versus just stopping someone from eating. So when you microdose, what you're doing is you're still maintaining their appetite. You guys should still be eating, you know, the right grams of protein in a given day to preserve muscle mass. You should still be hydrating so you have good gut motility. A lot of times we'll support it with digestive enzymes or something called glutamine, which again preserves the integrity of the gut. And when you do it in sort of this sort of well thought out strategic way, patients don't have to stay on it forever, you know. And I think when the GLP-1s first came out, I was like, no, we're not doing that. Like it was like a flat no. There's nothing natural about that. There's nothing holistic. We're not doing that. But then as I got my head wrapped around it, I think the problem I was having with it was this: you're going to be on it forever. End of the story, you know. And then there are GI implications of that. There are gut health implications to being on it forever. There's muscle wasting that happens with being on it forever. So I think as we started to work with it and brought in the idea of microdosing and pairing it with sort of this holistic gut strategy, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
And it's been a game changer for many patients.
I want to add, and Shelby, you too?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I think we could spend an entire day on GLP-1s, obviously. And I think it's interesting that Dr. Taz is, you know, sort of said her immediate reaction was no. I think many of us in medicine who trained, I think I might be a little older than you, trained during fen-phen. I don't know if you guys remember that, right? And pulmonary hypertension, it was pulled from the market. And that was in an era where we truly believed that overweight and obesity was a behavioral failure, where it was calories in versus calories out, and the person just must not be eating the right things or eating too much or not exercising enough. So fast forward to now, and we have a much better understanding of the biology of overweight and obesity. And just as an anecdote, and I said this on air too, and I think that this really resonates with a lot of people. In my own practice, we don't prescribe it yet because it's not FDA approved yet for our diseases, but it's coming. The Lilly, they're already doing studies in psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis, and we're going to see it. I have had numerous patients who are on biologic therapies, Enbrel, Humira, very strong immunosuppressives, who are doing well from an arthritis perspective, but still have a persistent elevation of, you know, CRP and SED rates in their blood, and they don't go down. And then they go on GLP-1 for other reasons, and for the first time in 10 or 15 years, they have normal inflammatory markers, and the light bulb goes off, and then we see, oh my goodness, these drugs are doing way more than just controlling diabetes and controlling weight. So stay tuned. As we know, it's, you know, we already have tirzepatide approved for obstructive sleep apnea. It's approved to treat liver disease. It's approved to slow down progression of kidney disease in people with cardiovascular disease. So I think we're going to see a lot more applications of GLP-1s, and I thank you so much for that microdosing bit of information, because one of the biggest concerns, of course, is the muscle wasting. People are falling and fracturing, and I think we need to know how to implement them safely and chronically or not.
In sleep medicine, it has been a game changer. Just over the past few months. I mean, it's for people who have moderate to severe documented sleep apnea, who have weight-related sleep apnea, but we've had so few options of what treatments are that for years they've been saying, lose weight, diet, exercise. It's not been enough. So the tirzepatide has been a game changer in apnea.
Yep, same in dermatology, but that's a next panel. But I would like to give a round of applause for our brilliant panelists here. I know I feel more empowered, and I hope that you all feel more empowered as well. And then a second round of applause for all of you for being here, focusing on your health, and we wish you an excellent day. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you.